I left everything behind in America, chasing peace, not money, not fame, not followers, just peace. But nobody tells you this. Sometimes the place you run to becomes the place that tests you the most. I moved to the Philippines thinking I was starting over, but what I found wasn't a new life. It was a mirror. And what that mirror showed me changed everything I thought I knew about myself. Stay with me. Because if you've ever thought about leaving your country, or you're already living abroad, this is the video nobody made for me, but I wish they had. Back in the United States, everything looked fine on the outside. Good enough job, roof over my head, people around me, but inside, I was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind of tired that builds up quietly, over years of living someone else's version of your life. Tired of the noise, the notifications, the pressure to perform, the feeling that no matter how much you did, it was never quite enough. I'd wake up and already feel behind, and I started asking a question I couldn't shake. Is this really it? So I made a decision most people only talk about. I left. No perfect plan, no guaranteed income, no safety net stitched together over years, just faith, a one-way ticket, and a need to breathe again. The first few weeks felt like a dream. The air was different, the pace was slower, people smiled more, or at least it felt that way. You get this rush when everything is new. The food, the streets, the sounds, even the inconveniences feel like adventures. I remember sitting on a rooftop somewhere, watching the sky turn orange, thinking, I actually did it. And for a moment, everything felt exactly right. But here's what they don't put in the travel vlogs. That feeling has an expiration date. And when it fades, when the novelty wears off and Tuesday feels like Tuesday again, you're left alone, with yourself, in a country that doesn't fully understand you yet, and a version of yourself you're still trying to figure out. This is the part most people skip, because it's not aesthetic. It doesn't make a good thumbnail, but it's the part that almost broke me. The Philippines is genuinely beautiful, and the people warm in a way that's hard to describe. But beauty doesn't remove confusion, and warmth doesn't solve incompatibility. Here's what actually hit me hard. Communication. Not the language, most people speak English, but the style of communication is different. In America, people are often direct. You say what you mean what you say. Here, things are sometimes left unsaid to preserve harmony. A yes doesn't always mean yes. A smile doesn't always mean okay. And coming from a culture where directness is respect, that gap created misunderstandings I wasn't prepared for. I'd walk away from conversations thinking we were aligned, and later realize we weren't even close. The pace of systems, government processes, banking, getting documents sorted. In America, you expect friction, sure, but here the friction is different. Lines that move slowly, processes that require 3 trips to the same office, rules that seem to change depending on who you ask. I remember spending an entire week trying to sort out one piece of paperwork, 1 week, on something that should have taken a day. And I had to make a choice in that moment. Get angry and fight the system, or accept that I was a guest in someone else's country, and their pace is their pace. The infrastructure gap, power outages, internet that drops mid-conversation, roads that flood in heavy rain. Coming from somewhere where these things are expected to just work, this required a complete mental reset. Not better, not worse, just different. And different is hard when you're already vulnerable. The loneliness nobody warns you about. This one was the deepest, because back home, even on a bad day, you had your people. A friend you could call, a family dinner to show up to, a familiar face at a coffee shop you've been going to for years. Here, you're building that from scratch, and building community as an adult in a foreign country is slow work. There were weeks where I had full conversations only with myself, and the silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud. It made me realize how much of my identity was tied to the people around me, and without them, I wasn't sure who I was. There were moments I sat with my thoughts and genuinely asked, Did I make the wrong decision? Because leaving a place like the United States, you don't just leave comfort, you leave familiarity. You leave the certainty of knowing how things work. You leave a version of yourself that people recognized. And out here, you're rebuilding from zero, without a blueprint, and without an audience to validate the progress. Some nights felt heavy, not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet and heavy. The kind of heavy that makes you scroll through old photos at 1 a.m. and wonder if the person in them was more alive than you are now. But somewhere in that heaviness, something shifted. I started to realize the problem was never just the place, it was me. Because no matter where you go in this world, you carry yourself with you. Your fears don't get checked at the airport. Your doubts don't stay behind in your old apartment. Your unresolved patterns don't disappear because the zip code changed. They follow you. They just show up wearing different clothes. The culture shock wasn't just about the Philippines being different. It was about me being exposed, without distraction, without routine, without the noise I used to hide inside. Moving didn't fix my life. It revealed it. It forced me to slow down in a way I never would have chosen on my own. It made me confront things I had been avoiding for years. Old patterns, old fears, old stories I kept telling myself about who I was and what I deserved. And in that space, with no distractions left to hide behind, the real work began. Not outside, inside, and slowly, things started to change. Not because the Philippines became easier, but because I became more adaptable, more patient, more present, more honest with myself than I had ever been. So, was it worth it? That depends entirely on what you're looking for. If you're moving to escape, you will be disappointed because you can't outrun yourself. But if you're moving to grow, to be shaken loose from the comfortable version of yourself, to rebuild something more intentional, then yes, it's hard in ways I didn't expect, and beautiful in ways I couldn't have imagined. I'm still figuring things out. Some days feel right, some days don't. But one thing is certain, I am not the same person who left the United States. And maybe that's not a side effect of the move. Maybe that was always the point. Because sometimes, starting over isn't about finding a new place. It's about becoming a new person. If this hit something in you, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you know someone who's tired of the life they're living, send this to them. It might be exactly what they needed to see today.